Hello, everybody. Welcome. Greetings. How are you today? Welcome to Dr. Sunday Adelaja on Facebook. So you are on Dr. Sunday Adelaja's page. You haven't mistaken at all. Welcome and thank you very much for joining us today. Wherever you're joining from, if you're joining from YouTube or Facebook or any other platform, please share this program. Is going to be an interesting one. It's one of my favorite programs of all time. Is Kingdom Fruits. So we are having Kingdom Fruits today, and I would explain to you what Kingdom Fruit is. In the meantime, guys, I would ask again to please share. Right. So today's Kingdom Fruit, I know if you're joining already, you would have seen the title, you would have seen the topic. Is 22 years in church, no disciples, no fruits, and no results. I think if you're a Christian and you're out there, you may have experienced something like this as well. I can actually attest to this, that yes, this has happened even to me. Okay, and if you're a Christian out there, maybe a lot of you also can admit to this. If you can't, don't worry, just join us and listen to the story of our guest today. Actually, I wouldn't just say he's a guest because he's also part of the family, part of DSA family. That's Dr. Sunday Adelaja. So he's also part of the family, and a lot of you already know who it is. You know him already on the platform, and his name is Christian R. So we're going to have Christian today, and I hope you would enjoy this program and also learn from his story as well. I'm really looking forward to this Kingdom Fruits. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining, and I'm just going to ask you again to please share. Thank you. Right, I think without further ado, we should just go straight to Chris and get started. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Mayowa. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm good. Just before we start, Chris, I just remembered something. All of you, I know you're expecting Dr. Sunday Adelaja. That's the first thing I should have shared with you. Dr. Sunday Adelaja, you should know by now, if you are a regular on this program, you should know by now that if Dr. Sunday is not here at 7 p.m. Ukraine time, you know that he is in court. So he's running late or he's in court. That's the only reason he won't be here. You know him already, how committed he is to this program. So he may still join us at some point. And if not, you have me. I hope you don't mind. And for those who want to see Dr. Sunday, there's another program after. Dr. Sunday would be on that program, definitely. So in the meantime, you have me, and I would be joining you to host Chris today. So here we go. I'm going back to you, Chris. How are you again?
I'm fine, Mayowa.
Good. Good. It's really a pleasure to have you do your Kingdom Fruit now. I have known you for some months now. You've been to a couple of HMTs. I'm not going to tell your story, but I'm just telling you how excited I am, and just want you to share your story with everyone. Let's start with this topic, this title that you have, 22 years in church. No disciples, no fruit, no results. Wow, that's really strong. It's it's strong on many levels for me, but let me just tell you the 2 or 3 things that I took from this topic alone. To be able to admit you are in church for 22 years, okay, that's somebody's life, whole life, right? And then say that no disciples, even though, there's a lot of things that goes on in church regularly, and people always pride themselves in having discipled this person or having discipled that person or inviting this person to church. And then he said no fruits and no results. They're quite strong statements. So I'll just let you take the floor and share your story with us.
Yeah, Mayowa, thank you very much. Where do I even start from? Because it's a pleasure being on this platform anytime, and I think it's a privilege also sharing my own story. And I hope that whoever will listen to this program today, or maybe in the future, I have 1 or 2 things to learn. There's nothing special about me, particularly, and there's nothing how will I put it now? There's nothing special about what I'm going to say, but I believe that there is something that someone will pick from today's message and learn from. Yeah, looking at the title, you understand. It's so easy for people to be in church, just like I was, and be in church for so many years, and walk the face of the earth and leave this earth without actually achieving anything. Like I was telling a couple of people a couple of days back. I said, look, it's one thing for you to be a child of God, but it's another thing for you to be a son of God. Because even the Bible says that unto us a child is given, that unto us a child is born, but unto us a son is given. So a child is born, but a son is given. And you see, the Bible went further to say that the whole creation is actually groaning and waiting for the manifestation of sons and not just children. So I believe the misconception that we've had, and that's one thing that's actually trapped a lot of people down, especially myself being on this program today, looking back now, is the misconception of fruits. A lot of people don't really understand what fruit is when the Bible says we should bear fruit. So I think for me particularly, it was because of my misunderstanding or my misconception of what fruit was. That was why I can say that although I've been in church for so many years, and I was growing up, I was fervent, I was serving God, I loved God so much, but I was doing it the wrong way. You know, the Bible says that we can have zeal, but our zeal can be without knowledge. So, see, that's one thing, that's one place I actually found myself. Now, let me just go back to the whole story, how I started.
Yes, and I think, Chris, I think it's important you just tell us a little bit about your background,
Yeah.
so that everybody knows who Chris is, how Chris started,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, how do I start now? Okay, I'm Chris. My name is Chris. I guess a couple of people will know me now on the platform. Looking at some of the maybe HMT series and all that. But my name is Chris. I'm a Nigerian. I was born in Nigeria. I hail from Delta State. I normally say I'm both from Delta and Edo because my mom is Edo and my dad is Delta. I was born into I would say I was born into a family where my dad wasn't a Christian at all, but my mom was a Christian and a devoted Christian for that. So I grew up in a military setting because my dad was a military officer, and we kind of like traveled almost everywhere in Nigeria. I was born in Enugu. From there, we moved to Jos. From Jos, from Calabar, we moved down to so many states before we actually ended up in Lagos. So, cutting a long story short, I grew up in a family. I grew up in a polygamous family, but I really never considered it a polygamous home because we all grew up under the same roof, and we never saw ourselves as like half brothers or half sisters because my dad actually ensured that happened. So I grew up in an atmosphere of love. I grew up in an atmosphere where my dad actually was very caring, let me put it that way. Although he was a military officer and he was always traveling, but sometimes when he's at home, he made sure he spent a lot of time with his children. But going back to my Christian upbringing, I owe that more to my mom because my mom was a Christian, was a devoted Christian. And when growing up, she started instilling that Christian values and Christian lifestyle in us. And I grew up I've always said it. I just grew up, I don't know, I just grew up loving God. I remember I started going to church when I was very little. I didn't really know anything, but I just loved being in the church atmosphere. I loved being in church, going to church with people. And that's how I actually grew up. Fast forwarding, basically, I think when I was in secondary school, I actually started taking this Christianity thing very seriously. I remember back in 1990, that was the first time I became actually conscious that, yeah, I think, I'm a Christian. I was going to church, but there was nothing like, the issue of being born again or whatever. I would say I wasn't really born again there, but I just knew I loved God, and I was really serving God. But it got to a stage whereby the journey became a little bit rough because, like I said, my dad wasn't a Christian, and it got to a point my dad wouldn't just have us going to church because he just like hated the idea of us going to church. So it got to a stage where I actually was being persecuted. I am a sister. My dad actually banned us from going to church. I remember sometimes he had to even like was very hard on us. He had to flog us sometimes. But I saw myself still going back to church. I will always go back to church. I remember a period when he actually stopped us from going to church. I think for a period of about for some months. I can't remember how long now. But I can still remember that even then, even though I wasn't going to church, I would go out to our street. I would stand with a tract and I would start sharing the tract to people on the street. That was just my passion until a couple of people from the church came, spoke to him, and he eventually decided, okay, you know what, it's your life, do whatever you want to do with your life, and we actually started. So I started going to church, and I would say I spent most of my time in church. But the looking back now, I have come to realize that yes, I loved God, I was fervent, I was zealous for God, but I had no idea of what the kingdom life meant. There was no concept of the kingdom. All the church I actually attended, not once did they actually speak about the kingdom. Even if they spoke about the kingdom, maybe just one or two churches, it was always around the concept of evangelism. Just go out and win souls. So growing up, that was all I understood about what seeking after the kingdom is. When Bible says, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, the whole concept I had was evangelism. Go out and win souls. And that I did. I did with all my heart. I did fervently. I was actually out there. I remember when I actually became very conscious of the fact that yes, I was a believer. I had given my life to Christ, and I was actually serving God. That was, I think it started in '96 when I started worshiping at the Fountain of Life Church in Lagos. So I joined the evangelism department, and I actually went out a lot on evangelism. And I would say, to the glory of God, I won a lot of souls. I was one of those people back then in Lagos, whereby if I get into a bus, I will preach the gospel. If I get into a taxi, I will
wow. You
preach
preached in the bus? Okay.
Yeah, I preached in the bus. So even on trip, for example, traveling, I'll preach in the bus, and I even got some people saved in the bus because after preaching, I'll ask them, if you're here and you've heard this gospel and you know you want to turn your life to Christ, I just want you to lift up your hands and let's pray together. And a couple of people will lift up their hands and pray. So in that aspect, I was actually winning souls. But apart from that, there was nothing else. There was actually nothing else. And there was no concept of discovering your purpose. There was no concept of actually pursuing after your purpose and doing something for the kingdom. So I was winning souls, but I wasn't making any disciples. Because if you look, the Bible says, Christ said, go into the world and make disciples. So because I grew up and I wasn't really taught that bearing fruit is actually making disciples, recreating yourself, reproducing yourself in other people, right? Pouring out your life in other people. That concept to me really never did exist in my mind. So I was doing all I could do based on what I knew. So I was just out there. But you see, fast forwarding, I left. Then after I left, I got a job in Port Harcourt. I left Lagos, and that was where the whole thing actually started going downhill. Because when I got to Port Harcourt, the church I used to go in Lagos, I would say to be fair on them, they were in the money type. They were in the prosperity type. this was the pastor was somebody I learned. I saw somebody who was humble. I saw somebody who was actually genuine. I saw somebody who I could actually emulate. So that's what I was following. But when I left Lagos and I left the church, because there was no branch of that church in Port Harcourt, I actually ended up in Winners Chapel. Why? Because my sister then was actually attending Winners, and her husband was also in Winners. So I just like, okay, there was no church for me to go. And I got a friend also that we were working together in the office. He was also a winner. So most of the time after work on Wednesday, I would just join him, go for the Wednesday Bible study. Then on Sundays, I'll follow my sisters. And that's how I just got ingrained into Winners. But you see, one thing that I've discovered is this. If you are in an environment and you're not careful, and you continue to hear a certain message over and over and over again, without you actually knowing, your mind is being reprogrammed.
Yep.
Yeah, your mind your mind will be reprogrammed, and before you start thinking and acting in a certain way, you wouldn't even know it, because it will become a habit without you knowing it. So I started going to Winners, and I started hearing all sorts of messages, and I think to my own discredit, I really didn't go back or even question. Because why? The reason being that while I was in Lagos, I, for the first time, heard the message of Bishop Oyedepo, and I somehow got attracted to it. But these were some of his old messages from like 85, 86, 87, 88. So there was a day I was walking under a bridge around Ikeja, and I heard a shop playing his message, and I got attracted. I said, okay. I walked to the shop, and I was asking the person playing the tape. I said, who is this? And he mentioned his name. Then I'd never heard of him. So I said, okay, can I get some of his tapes? So I bought a couple of his tapes. I went back home and I played it. And it was interesting because he was talking about faith. He was talking about, I didn't hear him preach about prosperity then. It wasn't that forceful then. But he was preaching things about faith. He was preaching things about the Holy Ghost. You understand? So yeah. I got interested. I started listening to him. And that's why when I got to Port Harcourt, because I had always been listening to him, I just decided, okay, my sister goes to Winners, let me join them. So I actually started going there.
It's interesting. I mean, I don't want you to stop, but at the same time, I want to ask some questions.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And it's really interesting what you're saying, especially with regards to, there are two things that I took from that, what you just said now about environment. The environment that you're in, you know, and how it influences you and how it changes you. And from moving from one location to another, going to Winners. So one thing I got from that environment, I want you to just explain exactly what captivated you in that environment, or what happened that you needed to be careful. Because we can tell people, I think a lot of people do know that environment makes a difference, but I want us to share with people tangible examples, how they can notice these things, or what to look out for, what to observe, what you encountered, what changed from where you were to where you are, or what happened during your time in that environment. That's the first thing. The second thing that you mentioned, which is really, really important, and I think everybody should take note of this, is that when you have heard a source before, right, and what you heard is right, or what you heard is good, it's not a reason to progress with that source without verifying, without checking every time. You have a duty of responsibility that, okay, Priest heard this when he was in Lagos. What he heard was good on the tape, but that is not a reason to take a blanket check or a blank check that whatever this person says and whatever this person does for the near future or for the future generally is correct, is right, is okay. I will run with it. So those two things are really, really important. It is important how we progress with information that we've heard, or somebody that we appreciate, or we we respect, how we progress with them in the future. So please, Chris, can you elaborate on those 2 points, what you said? Because I think that I also want to know.
Yeah. Thank you, Mayowa. Yeah, so the 2 points talking about environment and also talking about source. But before I address the 2 points, I just want to say, and this is one of the reasons I thank God so much for DSC and some of his messages that I've heard. You know, the challenge that we face is because we don't question things. Now, like you said, the source, the fact that someone is right today doesn't mean that they will be right tomorrow. And that's why we should always question and test everything we hear. Now, like you said, which you're right, I heard a message when far back, I can't remember the year now, in Lagos, and I got attracted to that message. And because of that, when I got to Port Harcourt, the only logical thing for me to do was to gravitate to the one I was attracted to without actually taking the time to pay attention to what he was saying and the messages that were coming out from the pulpit, and I didn't even question it. So that was the challenge for me. Getting to Port Harcourt in Winners. Now, before I talk about the environment, let me talk about the source, the messages. Now, I got there, and because of the aura that was created around a man, portraying the ministers, not just the head, but even other ministers, that, you know, the issue of how anointed someone is, the issue of, oh, touch not my anointed, the issue of that once somebody has been placed there, you don't question what they have to say. A lot of messages started coming out. And being that I grew up, like I started my Christian journey in Assemblies of God. And I would say to some extent, I'll say I got a fairly good foundation in Assemblies of God, because I went through a 6-month program of foundational teaching where they teach you the basics of Christian doctrine. And they teach you things like the Trinity of God, the Holy Spirit, baptism, speaking in tongue, and all that stuff. It was resident in my heart and in my subconscious. But when I got to Port Harcourt and I started attending Winners, I noticed that there was a lot of things that was different about the church. There was a lot of things, practices that was going on there that wasn't really scriptural, and didn't even align with what I knew as a young Christian growing up. But for whatever reason, I didn't question it. Now, looking back, I kept asking myself, why didn't I question those things that I noticed then? You understand? So I guess it was because of the love I had for the man. And that's why you must be very careful to put a man on the pedestal, that we begin to look at the man as untouchable. We begin to look at the man as if the man is God. So I guess it was the way I elevated them, the pedestal in which I placed them. I think that was the reason why I just kind of like ignored most of the things I was saying. Now, I will even mention one, because this one is really very bad. But there used to be a bishop in Winners. Then he was the bishop in the Port Harcourt diocese. They used to have diocese. I think his name was Bishop Borime. I can't remember now, from Edo State. Now, this bishop used to come to the altar and would tell people to bring padlock, right? And the padlock was meant to lock their enemies, was meant to lock anybody that was troubling them. You understand?
Yeah.
And you understand?
Yeah.
And sometimes we tell them, bring 2 padlocks. One padlock was meant to lock your enemy. The other padlock was meant to unlock whatever blessings of God or whatever that the enemy has locked, to unlock it. And you know what? He would tell them to lock the padlock, unlock one, and go and throw it into either the river or into the bush or something.
Wow.
It was troubling to me, but you see, that's why I talked about environment. Because I had been in that environment, and I had actually started partaking in some of these practices. I'd actually started partaking in some doctrinal practices that wasn't scriptural. But as of then, I actually didn't see anything wrong with it at all. You understand? Because I just felt, okay, they'll use scripture to actually back it up. Oh, Paul used an apron. This one, Jesus Christ used sand, molded sand, and put into the eyes of a blind man, and spat on the ground. All sort of scriptural backing that we used to back their practices. But you see, that's why I said being in an environment is very, everybody, like you said, everybody knows that an environment has influences. But you see, a lot of people don't know the extent of the impact or the influence that environment has on you and on your mindset. And that's why I tell people that, look, if you are in a place, you are not the leader in that place. You don't have any leadership position. You don't have any leadership influence. And you discover the truth. The only thing you can do to help yourself is to live there.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you can do. Because it will be foolish of you to say you want to stay there and change the establishment. It is not possible. You can't do it from within. Because I use this analogy. I said, have you ever seen where somebody took a rotten egg and a good egg and put it together and leave it in a place for maybe after a week? After a week, you come back. What do you think will have happened to the egg? Will the rotten egg become good?
No.
Or good egg become rotten?
No, it's actually an experiment like that. It's actually with fruits. You know, it is a live experiment. You can test it at home as well. If you put a rotten fruit in the same basket as fresh fruits, by the time you come back the following day, the fresh fruits would have gone rotten. So yes, it's a proven example.
Thank you, because I didn't even know of that experiment, but it was just something I was thinking in my mind, because I discovered that you trying to change a rotten system within the system is just a lost cause. Just forget it, because you will end up becoming rotten. And that is what has happened to a lot of us in churches today. And that was what was happening to me. But I didn't even know. And the sad thing is that you will think that you are the one actually doing the right thing. And that's why majority of people in churches today, to be fair on them, most of them actually think that they are doing the right thing. And that you, speaking out, you are the one doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So, you see, that was the situation I found myself. I started practicing these doctrines without even realizing that I was actually no longer serving God, but I was into idolatry. I didn't see it as idolatry then, but then I was seeing it as the manifestation of power. I was seeing it as the manifestation of the power of God. You want to show how powerful you are.
Wow.
You understand? So environment plays a very big role in our Christian walk, and that is why let me just refer this whole thing to myself, not to anybody out there, and I hope people will learn. And that's why I discovered that was the reason why I can say there was actually no fruits. There was no fruit. Now, I've been in church almost all my life until recently. I couldn't actually point to one person that I discipled. I couldn't point to one person. Yes, I won a lot of souls. Glory to God. I was out there preaching. I was going to estates. I was going from door to door. I was going to beer parlor. I was preaching to people. People were giving their life to Christ. But I couldn't actually point to one person that I could say that I actually discipled. I can call he is my disciple, or he was somebody that I brought to Christ. I mentored and I brought him up and I taught him the way of the Lord. There was nothing like that. There was no fruit. I wasn't recreating myself. Now, when you talk of the issue of purpose, forget it. I didn't even know what Purpose? What was purpose? I didn't even know that you were supposed to discover purpose. I didn't even know that you're supposed to pursue purpose. I didn't even know that you're supposed to dominate a sphere of life, or you have an influence over your own sphere. So those things were concepts that was alien to me.
Wow.
All I knew that Christianity was going to church, being fervent in church. And one other thing I want to drop here is the so-called cliche of serving in the church.
Yeah.
Because that was another thing that I felt or I thought was Christianity or was serving God. I thought serving in church translated or meant serving God. Not until recent.
Right. You've mentioned recent twice, Chris. So I think it's a very good point for us to ask how you came across the teaching of Dr. Sunday, how long it's been, or when you started. You know, to start from there, then you can tell us, you can go back to this or progress from this point.
I'll talk about how I met Pastor Sunday. Then I will touch on how it has changed my life, going back from where I came from and where I am now. Now, how did I come across Pastor Sunday? While in London, I found myself back in Winners, because even when I came to London, initially I was attending, you won't believe it, I attended Matthew Ashumolo's church, but I couldn't sit there, even with the rubbish I knew. I couldn't.
Scam.
Even with the rubbish I knew, right? I went there, and I couldn't stay there for 2 months.
Wow.
Because I couldn't stay there. I just felt that, look, I said, this is completely rubbish. What I was hearing and what I was getting there, I just said, no, that was it. And I just stopped going. So I started looking for a church, and eventually I found a church. It's a white church, basically, a white pastor. They have a lot of white people there. I started attending the church, a good church. So, but in 2015, I moved away from central London, way out of central London. So I just couldn't commute back to church every Sunday. So I decided to look for another church that was not too far from me. And that was where I ended up back in Winners. So I started attending Winners, but that was Winners Middlesex. And I'll go back to a lot of the stuff that happened there. But how did I come to meet Pastor Sunday?
Yeah.
Funny enough, a brother in church, there was a day we were in church and we were setting up the equipment for preparing for church service the next day on Sunday. And he shared a 5-minute clip of Dr. Sunday's, I think it was a clip on tithe.
Okay.
I think it was tithe or first fruits. I can't remember which one now. But he shared it to me. He said, have I seen this clip? So I took it. And the guy was like, that this man might be saying the truth, that most of these men of God might have been scamming us and whatever. So I will look at it. So I went back home and actually looked at the clip again, because I just looked at it briefly, but we were in church there, so I just couldn't listen to it. So I went back home and I listened to it, and it made sense. It made sense to me, because even this tithe thing, although I was paying my tithe, although I was really serious when it had to do with tithe payment. But even me, I was having some doubts about tithe, because I know way back when I was in Nigeria, a cousin of mine had actually asked the question if tithe was still relevant today, and it was way older than me, and it was somebody I respected. So we started discussing, but I was debating in favor of tithe, that we must pay our tithe, and I was bringing all the scripture.
You're playing all the script that they gave you in Go on.
Yeah, exactly. So what was I doing? I was using all the things I've heard in Winners. I was just backing up tithe. You understand? Even though it was wrong, I was just backing up tithe. So when I looked at that clip, the discussion we had years back flashed again in my mind, and I said, this thing could be true. So that was what actually started it. But later on, what actually got me hooked was somebody shared one of the Facebook live program that Pastor Sunday was doing on Facebook. It was one of my contacts. So I was going through it and I just stumbled upon it. I think he was going through the series of I think it was syncretism.
What year was this?
This was this should be October 2017.
Okay.
October 2017. So, and but funny enough, before then, I'd actually started questioning a couple of things. Why? Because I don't know. I think God took me through a process where, from 2012, when even before I got to Winners, and actually I started questioning my own Christianity. I also started questioning some of the things I had believed. Because I remember one day I was walking in 2012. We just finished from church and I was going home, and it just hit me. And I started asking myself, because Jesus said that, "Let no man deceive you." If you read Matthew 24, and one of the things that caught my attention in Matthew 24 was that of all the warnings that Jesus gave to his disciples, he only mentioned them once. But when it came to deception, he mentioned it 4 times. At the beginning of the Matthew 24, in the middle he mentioned it twice, then at the end he mentioned it again. So I now started asking myself, why did Jesus Christ mention deception 4 times, and he only mentioned, oh, there'll be rumors of war, there'll be this, there'll be that, only once? So it got me thinking, and I started questioning myself. So as I was walking home that day, it just dawned on me, is it possible that even right now that I'm serving God, that I'm already deceived and I don't know it? I said, because if you are deceived, there's no way you will know that you are deceived until somebody from outside, you understand, until somebody from outside will make you realize that what you are doing is wrong. So I just started thinking, I said, okay, you know what, I will go back home and I will start to question all the doctrines, all the things I believe. So the first thing I asked was, why do I believe the things that I believe? And I listed them down. So that question has been going on in my mind. So when I came to Winners, I started questioning some of the practices. But when I now met Dr. Sunday, and he now started teaching on secretism, and that series was so, my God, was so tough, because I was seeing him for the first time. I wasn't on his contact. I wasn't a friend with him. So, and it wasn't a live show, because it was something that they shared, and days later I saw it. So I just went through it, and I listened to it. So I now said, how can I be following up this? I didn't know it was an everyday series. So every day I come back from work, I'll be going through Facebook to check if there is any other show that I've missed. So sometimes I'll come across it, sometimes I will not. Then eventually one day I was listening to one. Then Pastor Sunday now mentioned at the end of the program that we are here every day. If you want to join us, call the name Dr. Sunday Adelaja. So immediately I went, search for him on Facebook, clicked on the follow button, and whenever it comes up, I get a notification. So that's how I started listening to Dr. Sunday. It took me only 1 week of listening to Dr. Sunday. I remember towards the end of October, I was at home, I was listening. There was one message I was listening. I listened, I finished it. I went to the second one, I was listening. I just made up my mind that I'm no longer going to church. Now, because for me, it was a tough decision for me to make. And why do I say that? Because when I was in Winners, the Middlesex branch, I wasn't just a floor member in Winners. Yeah. So I was there when I started. In a space of a year, I was made a cell leader. So I was heading a cell group. Not only that, I was also made a zonal leader. And after that, I was made the youth coordinator of the church. And I was also brought into what they call altar steward, meaning those who are around the altar. So you are part of like the pastoral group. So that was where I was. So for me to make up my mind to just stop going to church, it was a tough decision for me. But after hearing what I heard, with all the proof and with the truth that was coming out of Dr. Sunday's message, I just couldn't, in good faith, return back to that place. I just couldn't. Because it took me days. I was listening to during the week, and I was asking myself in my head, should I go or should I not go? should I just go and maybe just continue to worship there for some time, then gradually tell them I'm leaving? But something told me in my heart that when I decided to go there, nobody invited me there. I walked into the church with my own two legs and I started serving God there. So why will I now take or maybe write a letter or beg them that please, I want to leave? I just said no. I said, okay, you know what, let me stop going and let me even see what will happen. And funny enough, I made up my decision. The first Sunday I didn't go. The second Sunday I didn't go. Mario, you won't believe, I was a cell leader. After every cell fellowship on Saturday, we normally send cell reports. For 1 month, nobody asked me, Christian, what's going on? We've not seen you. Nobody asked me, what about your report? So it only went to show that I was in church, but nobody cared. And it's not that I didn't know this, because when I went to the church the first time, the first Sunday I went into that church. It wasn't a very big church. It was a small church. I went into the church. I even stepped out when they called first timers. Right? I stepped out of the church. After the church, they attended to us. But you know what? Nobody came up to me to say, "Oh, I can see you're a new member. Just ask about you. What is your name? Where do you live? Blah blah blah." Nothing like that. I went back the second Sunday. Nobody. I went into the church, sat in the church, finished the service, went out. Nobody. I did that again the third Sunday. Nobody. So it just went to show that there was actually no love. But when I started going there week after week, month after month, it became clear to me that people were actually there not because they wanted to serve God, not because they had a love for God, but they were just there because of what they want to get. Some of them are there because they want to get a new contract. Some of them are there because they want to build their new house. It was just all about prosperity, prosperity, prosperity. So that's how I came in contact with Dr. Sunday. I can't hear you, Mayowa. I still can't hear you. Yeah, I can hear you now. I can't hear you again. Can I talk? Okay. So, yeah, that was how I got to know Pastor. That was how I got to know Pastor Sunday, and I actually started following Pastor Sunday, and I kept on listening to him. And the more I listened to Pastor Sunday, the more convinced I was that I actually made the right decision. But what actually did it for me, in December, after listening to him for throughout the month of November, just following him on Facebook, I decided to read one of his books, because I saw a lot of people recommending Pastor Sunday's book. Oh, his books were great. So I kept telling myself that this is a man I've been listening to for one month. I've been listening to his messages. I've even gone to some of his YouTube messages. But not much. I just listened to about maybe 2 or 3. So I started telling myself, I said, what more does he have to say? You understand that? Okay, I like what he's saying. He's really opening our eyes. But somebody called him that day and made a recommendation for a book. So I just decided that, okay, I was going to get his book. So I went to Amazon Kindle and searched for his book, and I saw a lot of copies that I got. I became a little bit confused. I really didn't know which book to to pick. But as it will happen that same day, somebody called in and was recommending a book. So I decided to start with that book, and that was how to create your own net worth. Create your net worth. So I actually went to Amazon Kindle and I bought the book. That was in November. I think it was the end of November first week of December. Yeah, because I started reading his book first week of December. So I went there, I started reading the book, and the first time I took Pastor Sunday's book, honestly, it completely blew my mind. And I'm being honest, and God can see my heart. I took his book, I started reading Create Your Own Net Worth, and just the first 2 pages of the book I read, I think that was not even chapter 1, it was the introduction. I just said, no. I said,
Can you hear me now, Chris?
okay, yeah.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, there's something, before you go on to the book, there's something I really want to emphasize on what you said. 2 things, actually. The first thing is that for those people that are going to church, I call it shrine. That is just me personally, okay? And, you have your questions and you have your reasons why you go to where you go. But one thing that Chris mentioned that I think is really important, and you might be at home watching right now and feeling the same way, is that you know that somewhere is not right. You know that you can't make the changes in that place, right? But you are afraid to leave. You are afraid, you are worried to leave. Did you ever think, just like Chris is saying just now, that nobody forced you to come there? You weren't thinking, you were not afraid to come to the church. Why are you afraid to leave? Wherever there is fear, there is no God there. In any decision that you need to make and you are afraid, even if you leave and then you come back, but the decision to leave and you're afraid, that is not God. So I just want to make sure that that is emphasized and everybody knows that. That fear that you feel that you don't want to leave that place is not God. There's something not right about that. And then the other thing that Chris mentioned that I think is really important is that they give you a lot of jobs to do. To them, you're just like a tool, okay?
Yeah.
So wake up and smell the coffee. They'll give you different things, different roles. Do they think about you? Do they care about you? You have this role. You're the usher. You are the pastoral whatever, home whatever, this and that. You're wasting your life. When do you concentrate on your purpose? When do you concentrate on your own vision? Or you'll be carrying the vision of your pastor in your head? Huh? Do they care about you? Do they help you to look at your time and manage your time? And when he wasn't even doing that, that's an extension of number 2. Nobody even noticed because it wasn't a relevant job. It wasn't a duty that is necessary. They just give it to you. You know what they do with you? They treat you like children. You know when you want to go and do something, when you're doing something in the house, and you put on the cartoon for children to watch. That's what they do to you. They put you on a cartoon network to keep watching cartoon while they get on to do things that they want to do. And if they need something, they'll just call you, hey, bring this. Hey, come and do this for me. You do the menial things for them to make things work for them. You're just a tool. You're just like you might as well be a program robot. So just let that sink in, all right? I just thought I should just share that, you know me. I just thought I should just emphasize on that. Go ahead, please, Chris.
Yeah, you're right. Before we get back to the issue of the book, you're right. Because what they do is because nobody else must pursue their own vision. Everyone in them must pursue the vision of the head of the church, the founder of the church. So what they do is to make sure they keep you down and bug you with so much activity. So much. And you know one thing that really, even before because the way God works, a couple of things started happening that started getting my eyes open before I met Dr. Sunday Adelaja. I think that was God preparing me. Why? Because now my place is very far from the church. But I was literally sleeping. In fact, my Saturdays and Sunday, forget it. I did not own it. The church owned it. Why? Because in the morning I belonged to the technical team, right? And because we were still using a school then, right? What we do in the morning, I get up, prepare, 8 o'clock, I'm out of the house, 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, I'm in church. We start setting up the equipment for church the next day. I finish there by 2 or 3 in the afternoon. Once I finish, I either dash back home or I wait there and head straight to the, what's it called, the cell group or the cell fellowship. Stay in the cell fellowship until maybe 6 or 7. And my place is very far. So before I get home on Saturday, it's already 8 or 9 in the evening. So my whole Saturday is completely gone. Then on Sunday, I repeat the same thing. When we finish from church, we have to stay back and dismantle all that we have set up. While everybody is gone, we are still in church by 2, by 3, by 4. Sometimes you have a workers' meeting. You are in church till 5, 6. Before you get home, Sunday is gone. But you see, something happened. There was a day I was talking to the assistant pastor of the church, and we were supposed to meet. So I now told him, I said, he lives, his place to my place should be about maybe 20 minutes drive, or I can't remember how many minutes. So I now said, sir, I said, okay, why don't we meet in my place, because I'll be at home on Friday. My God, do you know what he said? He said, your place? No, your place is too far. So he said, your place is too far. It just dawned on me, oh, my place is too far for you to come, but my place is not too far for me to come to church, set up equipment, be in church till 5, go back again on Sunday. You don't, and you know what? Even during prayer, fasting and prayer period, when you have to be in church every day, I was in church every day, setting up the equipment.
God.
And you go to church in the evening, you set up the equipment. You finish in around 9 in the night. You packing the equipment, you leave church by 10. And I asked myself, so you mean my church, my house is not too far? And when you don't do it, they get offended. They get annoyed. Oh, why didn't you come? You're supposed to come and set up the equipment. And you say, my place is too far for you to come. So I just said, okay, now I know. So that was some of the things that I was thinking about when I just made up my mind and said, you know what, this is a complete waste of time.
Yeah.
Especially when I started hearing Pastor Sunday hammering on purpose. Because I had gotten an eye-opener or in touch with the message of purpose, but not in the way I did when I met Pastor Sunday. I've been listening to Dr. Miles Moreau just a couple of years before I met Pastor Sunday. So he was always talking about purpose, but to me it was too theoretical. Basically, he was talking about the kingdom. He was using the kingdom of Great Britain as an example, and I got the concept, but I couldn't translate it into practical. Okay, yes, I know the kingdom now, but how do I bring it down into my own life? How do I start manifesting the kingdom? I never got that. So those were some of the things that were just going on through my head. And while I was sitting down at home, I just made up my mind. I said, you know what? This is the end. And I told myself, it's not that I'm going back to, what's it called, winners. I am not going back to church. I said, I want to serve God on my own, on my terms. I want to know God for myself.
Yeah.
If it so happens that at a point in time, God tells me, you know what, Chris, now I want you to go to this particular church and go and serve me there, I will. I said, but see, I heard that from God, no more. So I decided and I made that decision towards the end of October, and ever since then, I've not. But the funny thing is, I have lived a more fulfilled life. I've lived a more happier life since then. I've lived a more productive life. Like I was telling Pastor Sunday, I said, what I have been able to do in a year of meeting Pastor Sunday, I had not done it for the past 22. I mean, how many years that I've been in church? The fruit that I've been able to produce, the things that God has placed in my heart that I've been able to translate right, into fruits. I've not done it. So looking back now, all I can do is just say, Lord, I thank you because I made the decision at the right time, I believe. And I thank God that I was able to make the decision without any fear, without any compromise, without any favor to man. You understand? I wasn't bothered about what anybody will say. I wasn't bothered about what my family will say. I said, this is my life. I am going to make that decision, and I made that decision. Wow. And I thank God that today, I am far better off than I used to be. Yeah. Far, far better off. So,
wow. Chris, I want to ask some things, okay? I just want you to explicitly say these things or share it with us. Number one, do you still pay tithes?
No, tithe care.
And number two, how is your finance without paying tithes?
Should I share that?
Share it. Because this is one of the things that they say, especially for those church goers, that if you don't do this, if you don't do that, you're not going to get this. So Chris, share your own life. Share what's happening that you stopped going to church. You said you're happier, okay? And things is working out for you. So that fear, we've discarded that one. So the tithe, you might not be going, but you're still paying your tithes. How is life for you?
Iowa, first and foremost, let me use this opportunity to tell everybody listening to us today and everybody that will eventually watch this video. Tithes, as far as I am concerned, my opinion based on my understanding of God's word, is a big fraud. Tithe is a complete fraud. Now, not only because when I say tithe, I'm very explicit. I mean 10%. The idea that you have to give God 10% of your income is a fraud.
To church,
right?
To a church.
To a church. Now, and for me personally, Maya, the way I see it, tithe, right? Whether to church or not to church is a fraud.
Ooh.
That's how I see it.
Ooh.
Now, the New Testament encourage giving. The New Testament encourage us to give, but not pay tithes. There is no concept of tithe in the New Testament. What I tell people is this: once it is not 10%, it is not tithes. So let's not get it confused. If it is not 10%, because tithe is supposed to be 1/10, 10%. Now, in the New Testament, there's no place where we were instructed to give 10% of any of our income. That's completely under the law. It's been completely abolished. Something my Lord and Savior never did, and He never instructed His disciples to do. His disciples never taught people to do. It's a complete fraud. What is instructed and commanded in the New Testament is free will offering. Free will offering. And the offering, it says that you should give not according to what you have not, but according to what you have, you should give. So even my giving to the poor, I don't give tithe to the poor. So what you can say is that the money I used to pay tithe before, maybe out of that money or even more than that money, I now use to give to the poor.
Brilliant. Excellent.
So that's my stand. That's my stand on tithes. Now, this show is not for me to talk about churches and all that. I just talk about my own experience.
Yeah.
Now, not only did I stop paying tithes, when I sat down and I calculated, not all the tithes I paid, just the one I paid to winners. In the space of 2-3 years that I was there, I shed tears, and I'm being honest. So what I do, luckily for me, I met a brother or a friend who told me that I can get a certain percentage of that money that I've paid to the church, that I should just write to HMRC. For those who are not in UK, this is the revenue collection body of UK.
Yes.
So I said, is that possible? I said, okay, at least let me get back something that I've given to church. So I wrote to them, and they told me to give them a breakdown of all the contributions I've done. And I did it, and they actually paid back a certain percentage to me, and I got my money back.
Wow! Say that again. Chris, I didn't hear that well. Okay. So, say that again, please. I think people will be interested in this. If you're in United Kingdom, okay, this might work for United States as well, or any other civilized country. If you have made payment into a church, okay, and you have a record of it, you can write to the HMRC, Her Majesty Revenue Service, okay? You can write to them and get a proportion of that money. You don't have to give us a figure, but you can give us a percentage, all right? What percentage was it? Say it again and then tell us the percentage.
I can't really remember now, but I think the way they do it, because for every donation you make, I don't know how it works. For every donation you make, you know the church they are supposed to pay back the church a certain percentage of that donation you make.
Yes.
But you see, that money that is going to the church is actually supposed to come to you, not the church. So, for example, for every £1 you pay, you are supposed to get maybe 20p or 30p. I can't remember.
Yes. The gift is that's what they call the gift aid.
I think maybe that's the gift aid. I don't know. But what I know was when the guy told me, I just I'll try it out. And I phoned them. I called them. I said, they said, okay, have you been making donations? I said yes. So who I gave them. You understand? So they said, okay, can you give us a breakdown of how much you have paid? Just a rough estimate. You don't need the exact amount. So I now gave them month on month how much I was paying. Calculated it at the end of the day, and my wife, it was a couple of thousands that I got back. so
whoa!
It was a tiny fraction. It was a tiny fraction of what I had paid, because when I looked at the amount of tithe I had paid, my wife, and I told myself, if I had invested this money in 2 years, my wife, I know how much I would have made from my investment. Just on compound interest.
Guys, okay, let me repeat that. I'm sorry, Chris. All right, I'm so sorry. And guys, no, I'm not sorry to you guys. I just want to share this to you again, okay? If you are in United Kingdom, check with United States as well, IRS or whatever it is, the version of UK HMRC. Write to them to tell them that you made donations to your church and you want your money back. And they will give you a percentage back. And then they will go and fight the people that they've given gift aid. Actually, that's such a good way. They will then go to the church to get the money back that they return to you. Woo! This is so sweet. Oh, thank you, Chris. All right, let's go, guys. Let's go, Chris.
But that's on tithes. I just want to say tithes for me is a fraud. And ever since then, I have been able to do more with the little I have. I've been able to do investment. I've been able to start a couple of projects. And I've been able to have I'm beginning to have impact. I'm beginning to see fruits. You understand? If right now I sit down sometimes, 24 hours is really, I just feel like 24 hours is not enough for the things that I have to do. So many things that I'm engaged in, and some I just have to like pack one side that okay, eventually I will come to, and some actually pursuing right now. Wow. So life to me is becoming more fruitful. You know why I was in the church, Winners or all other church. The concept I had was serve God. You know, they had this concept of your spiritual life and your spiritual life and your ordinary life.
Secular.
Exactly, that's the word. Your secular life and your spiritual life. So I carried that concept. So spiritual life, I felt, you have to go to church, pray, fast, do evangelism, serve in church, clean the floor, wash the toilet, and all those kind of stuff. That's your spiritual life. And your secular life is going to your job, looking for money, and all that.
They send Christians to bipolar.
Yeah, they turn you to bipolar. And that's why you see a lot of people are Christians in the church, but when they leave the church, nobody can identify with them that they are Christians. They're in their office, nobody even knows they are Christians. They can't even talk. Because they believe they are living, they have a spiritual life and they have a secular life. But that is a complete, it's a fraud. That's another fraud.
Yes.
Another fraud.
Identity crisis. Identity crisis everywhere.
And that's what has kept a lot of people in church for so many years without actually having any impact. Not until recently, I now started discovering that, look, you don't have to seek after wealth, but rather seek to become a person of value. As you become a person of value, look, I was just thinking, right, some time back, I asked myself, there are so many multi-millionaires in this world that have died, and nobody remembered their name today. They are gone and gone for good. But nobody can ever forget the name of Nelson Mandela, even though he wasn't a multi-millionaire. Nobody can ever forget the name of Martin Luther King Jr., even though he wasn't a multi-millionaire. Nobody can forget the name of Martin Luther the Reformer, even though he wasn't a multi-millionaire. They left a legacy. Mother Teresa was not a multi-millionaire, but today this world will not end without her name being mentioned, because people live a life of value. But you see, going to be stuck in all these churches, you will never know that. Because right in Winners, I make bold to say this, majority of people there don't know God. They are all there, because I'll say this because there was a day we were out on evangelism and there was a lady who was there. You won't believe that. The only reason why she was there, she was telling me that her oil contract is inside this evangelism. Her Prada Jeep is inside this evangelism. Why? Because they have told them, go out and bring them. We used to run operation this, operation that, operation by all means, operation them by operation this, and they will literally tell you, they'll give you a target in church. And the target is between now and the end of this month, you must bring 12 souls. How you get them, they don't want to know. If you have to go and pull them, if you have to go and drag them, because if you don't drag them, you don't have a blessing. But if you bring them, God will give you a breakthrough. God will give you your blessing. You become a this, you become that. So you see a lot of people going out there into the street, whether the people gave their life to Christ, whether they want to be born again or not. You even see people forging names on the new converts, whatever form, putting names, putting wrong contact to submit to church just for them to show that, okay, they are brought souls.
Fraud.
And the woman was there, and I stood and was looking at her. For me, I was doing it sincerely because before I even got to Winners, that was what I had been doing all my life. I had a passion for it. So I stood and I was looking at her. I said, do they even have the concept of a relationship with God? The reason why you are coming out to win souls is because you believe that if you bring this soul, God will give you a Jeep. She's even talking about the color, white Prada Jeep. She talked about an oil contract. So you see, and when I even interact with these people one-on-one, I discovered that there was no connection with God. No connection whatsoever. And I'm talking of deacons, deaconesses, people who were elders in church, people who held high positions in church. They didn't even know their Bible, talk less of knowing God. Understand? So one thing we should realize is this, right? I don't know how to put this. If you are in church, sit down, take an analysis of your life, and ask yourself some very, very hard questions, and tell yourself some hard truths. What has been the impact of my life all these years? What can I point to that I have done for the kingdom? What can I say is my fruits? What can I say Because look, at the end of the day, if you stand before Jesus today, what will Jesus point to? What will Jesus say that, okay, this was something you actually achieved or you did for the kingdom? I'm not talking of the number of houses you bought. I'm not talking of the number of cars you bought. I'm not talking of the businesses and all that, but for the kingdom, what can you say you did? How many lives did you impact? You understand? So Mayowa, it's a very sad story.
It is.
It's a very sad story. And you know what? It's so easy. It's so easy because time flies like this.
Yeah.
You look back tomorrow, it's 10 years.
Yeah.
And you've been in church for 10 years, and that's what happened to me.
Yeah.
That's why when I read the book, How to Regain Your Lost Years, I made a decision that whatever it takes, I know I will not get it right for some time, but I will force myself, I will work on myself until I get to that place where I begin to produce. My life must be about producing products, right? And every year, every month, every hour, I must have a product to show for the time. I say because I've wasted so many years of my life being in church, thinking I was serving God, thinking I was serving the purpose of God, not that I was serving the purpose of man. I was helping another man fulfill his vision, while my vision was suffering, was dying, was even dead. I was helping, and even the vision of the man, I don't even know if that vision is from God. But yet, I was helping him to propagate that vision.
Wow.
As the one that God, the reason why I was born on earth was in the grave.
Jeez.
The reason, the purpose why I was born was in the grave. So I made up my mind, after reading How to Regain Your Lost Years, I told myself, whatever it would take. I said, but I have it planned out. The first thing I said, I must work on myself. That is why throughout 2018, right, you would see me, I didn't come out, I didn't do anything. I was just working on myself. I said, I will read as much book as I will read. I will listen to as much message as I will listen to. I will attend as much HMT I will attend, just to work on myself.
Brilliant.
Because I read the concept of when Pastor Sunday in the book Build Your Network, he was talking about building your core. You know, when you are building a skyscraper, right, the foundation matters,
yes,
but after the foundation, the core of the skyscraper also matters.
The pillar.
Is a foundation. We are standing on Christ. But you see, the core is our responsibility. So the strength of the core of that skyscraper will determine the height of that skyscraper and will determine the strength of the structure. So I said, the first thing I must do is to build my inner core. I must work on myself. Then when I know I have worked, because working on yourself is a lifelong journey, but at least you work on yourself to a certain stage where you now feel that, yes, I have something to give. If I talk, people will listen. And my glory be to God, I'm in a place now that I can say that, yes, I've done quite a little job.
Let's talk about that. We have some time, not much, but we still have time. Talk about your kingdom fruits. What are the kingdom fruits that you have you want to share with us today?
Okay, because of our time, I'll just maybe just go through it quickly. So one of the first thing I did, because I've always had this desire to reach out to the orphans. So one of the first thing I did was to set up an NGO, which I called the African Orphans in Need Education Fund. And the whole idea was to educate orphaned children. And I actually have a goal of how many orphan children I want to reach out to in my lifetime. Now, I started small, but I want to say I am not doing this all by myself. Even though, yes, I was the one who traveled back to Nigeria, went to a couple of orphanages, and actually selected a couple of children. I have a team of 3 people that are actually also contributing to the sponsor of these orphans. But so far, I've been able to, or I will use the word we have been able to at least send 11 orphans to school back in Nigeria.
Wow.
And we didn't just put them in the government school, because when I went there, we did a couple of research and discovered that to a large extent, going to a government primary school is a waste, because there was nothing is actually happening. They are not actually teaching them. So, and I said, if we must give them this education, then we must at least give them something of quality. So did it in such a way that I met a lady who already owned a school in Ife, and it was a private school. I went to the school myself. I spoke to the teachers. I interviewed the principal of the school, and I saw the level of work that they have done, the quality. I even saw people who had graduated from the school and had gone to the university. Some of them went to secondary school. They passed through secondary school, go to the university, and I was satisfied with the quality I saw. So we went to the orphanage, and I selected. There were so many children there, so many children. And I was only able to select, I think then we selected 13, but 2 fell off, let me put it that way, for some reasons. So at the end of the day, we had 11 children. And so far, since last year, they have been going to school every month. Why? Because people that had the desire to actually put these children through school are actually supporting their education.
Brilliant.
So that's one of, So that was one of the first thing that we did.
Brilliant.
I just want to thank God for that. Now, the second thing was, I'd always, I don't know, I had this desire also to reach out to youths, right? And basically, I call it mental emancipation of the youths in Nigeria, meaning re-educate them, not just with the knowledge they got from school, but the knowledge of life, laws and the principles that govern life. You understand? Things about how they can discover their purpose, how they can use their gifts and their talents to have an impact on their community and on their society. Now the focus is not just to people who are in church. Whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a Buddhist, whether you are an atheist, it doesn't matter. I just want to reach out to them and speak to them with what I have learned. I want to give back. So in doing that, in planning it and in drawing it, I got a call from one other of my friends. His name is Isaac, who we used to attend the same church in London, the white church I mentioned, Kensington Temple. So he called me because funny enough, he had been following Pastor Sunday 1 year before I met Pastor Sunday, but I never knew. So he called me. I think it was because of one of the book review I did with Pastor Sunday. So he saw me and he called me. So when we got talking, so I shared my vision with him, and he said he has exactly the same vision, that he wants to reach out to youth. So I said, okay, why don't we come together and start something together? And that's how we started, because we already had an organization he had registered and all that. It's actually called Youth Unstoppable. There's a Facebook page for it. Even the other orphanage I mentioned, there's also a Facebook page.
What's the name? Tell us the names of the Facebook, so in case people want to support it.
Yeah, the name of the Facebook page for the orphanage is called African Orphans in Need Education Fund.
Okay.
But the name is at aoinef.fundme.
Okay.
Yeah. Then the name for the Youth Unstoppable is Youth Unstoppable. If they search for it on Facebook, they'll see it. Then the what's it called? The address is at Youth Unstop.
Okay.
YOUTH Unstop. Okay. So basically, what do? We organize events where we speak primarily to university students from year 1 to final year. We speak to them, but we don't always speak to them. We try to identify those that have entrepreneurial mindset, and also those who have gifts and talents that we can productionize, we can get a product out of. Then we try to link them with people who are able to fund their ideas.
They're showing something on the screen here. You're sitting in the front as well.
That's one of the events we had. That's one of the events we had in Uniben.
Okay.
So basically, we organized an event. I think that was August last year. So we went to University of Benin.
Okay.
And we actually spoke to them. So that's in one of their main auditorium. It was very big.
Okay.
So that was our first outing in University of Benin. So basically, that's what we do. And we've been to University of Lagos, we've been to University of Benin, and we've also been to Crawford University in Ogun State.
Okay.
And we also have a couple of invitations that have been slated for this year. So hopefully we'll be going to University of Abuja, we'll be going to Obafemi Awolowo University, and also we'll be repeating University of Benin. And you know what, the good thing about this is that we're actually raising disciples, because right now in each of these schools, we actually have Youth Unstoppable chapters. So we have people in University of Benin who are actually working with us, people in University of Lagos who are working with us. So we call it our chapters. You understand? And we mentor these people. Although because we are in London here, we mentor them online.
Okay.
So even some of them are actually running with this thing. Basically, they are pursuing their purpose. They themselves now are actually organizing events to talk to other youths, to talk to their friends.
Brilliant.
In school. Yeah, we are even recommending Pastor Sunday books to them. So, but we have two other people in Nigeria who we work closely with as part of our inner core team. So that's the second thing. And you know what? This Youth Unstoppable, it's so good that as God will have it, we came in contact with I don't know what they call it now, if it's an Oba or Kabiesi in Ijesha. There's a Kabiesi Olukobode, I can't remember the land now, who actually offered to give us a land in his community to build a library. It's not that we are the one that will build it.
Wow.
Basically, he's offering to sponsor the building of the library, and also event center where we'll be coming to teach the community youth.
Like a resource center.
Like a resource center, yes. So basically, he has asked us to bring like an architectural diagram, which we gave to somebody to draw. But he actually, instead of giving us an architectural diagram, he produced a 3D design, which we sent to the Oba, or to the chief or the king, or whatever they call it. So we're actually waiting for his feedback. So hopefully, when we go back to Nigeria this year, we'll meet him. And not even that, while we were in Nigeria in August last year, it was featured in the Guardian newspaper of Nigeria. So basically, how did it happen? A friend of one of us actually came in contact with us and actually saw what we were doing and really liked it. And I think she worked in Guardian, or she still worked in Guardian. So she invited us to the Guardian newspaper, interviewed us, and it was published there. So that's some of the things that I've been engaged in, and not a lot of things, a lot of things. And that's why I said that some of the things that we are doing now are things that we sat in church for a lot of years without doing. We didn't even know. There was no concept. And I just keep asking myself that if I could do this in just 1 year of like meeting Pastor Sunday, working with him, listening to his messages, reading his book, then how will 10 years if I continue in this path? So I told myself, and that's one of the things I told myself, that look, I must not waste my life again. 20 years of my life is too much a life to waste. I can't afford to waste it anymore. And that's why I push myself as much as I can to achieve the much that I can. There's so many things. I know we are
Yes.
almost out of
No,
time.
we started a little bit late, so I'm going to take that time. I want to
Okay.
also ask about the books that you've read and also HMT, because we have an HMT coming up from the 2nd to the to the 7th of February, just in a few weeks. If you're in Europe or America where you do not need visa, or you hold a passport where you don't need visa, because you could be Nigerian in America, you still need a visa. If you could be a Nigerian in any part of Europe, if you hold a Nigerian passport, you will need a visa. We have closed for the visa for those countries for February, but we can start the process for the visa for April HMT. So if you cannot make the February HMT and you want to come to HMT, there's one in April as well. It's early April. I believe it's from the 8th to the 12th of April. 8th to the 12th of April. So if you want to come to that, and also we have the anniversary just before that. If you're interested in that, the forms will be out very soon. So you can go and check out the form and complete the bookings form, which is sundayadelajablog.com/HMT. So we will put the one for April. But if you are still interested in the HMT, that's History Makers Training, that is happening from the 2nd to the 7th of February. That's in a few weeks' time, and you do not need a visa. Okay? Then you can go and complete the form. That form is in the same place, sundayadelajablog.com/HMT, and join us for this February HMT. This February HMT would be interesting. Is how to plan your life, how to plan and structure your life for the next 25 years. Plan and structure your life for the next 25 years. The interesting thing about this is that you can now decide that in the next 10 years or 5 years or whatever years you want to put in place, you want to achieve this, and how to plan that to happen. You know, not spend another 22 years. This is not hit at you, Chris. Not spend 22 years and, you know, no fruit, nothing. You can actually structure and plan. You can decide you want to do it in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years, whatever you decide, and how to plan and structure that to happen. So join us for that HMT. It's from the 2nd to the 7th of February 2019. So I also want, so Chris, I'll let you have your sip of water. So 2 things, the books that you have read, because you know, time is of essence here, like in terms of period of time. If somebody can tell somebody, we can tell us the whole world that you didn't achieve anything, no result in 22 years, and now you're telling us you achieved results in 1 year. Some people might be there and thinking, yeah, whatever, you know, but there are things that you did, all right? And one of those things I know is books, reading books, you know, loading yourself with content, with information, empowering yourself, creating yourself. So I want you to share with us some of the books you read, one, and we mentioned HMT as well. You can mention your HMT experience and, you know, just kind of tell us how many times you've been to HMT and all that. But first of all, the books that you read, how did you get this power in 1 year? Which spinach did you eat? Like Popeye.
You know, talking about Pastor Sunday's book, you know, Pastor Sunday has a lot of books. I would say I've read a lot of books. But I'll just mention a few. As in, at least the first book I know, like I mentioned to you earlier, the first book that actually got me to HMT was the book Create Your Net Worth. Honestly, everybody should read that book. Because
How to create your net worth.
Yeah, I think, is it How to Create Your Net Worth or Create Your Own Net Worth?
Okay, create your net worth. I think it's create your net worth.
Create Your Net Worth,
yes.
Yeah. So that was the first book I read. The other books I've read that I think really ministered to me. That's the very first set of books I read. The second book is How to Regain Your Lost Years. How to Regain Your Lost Years. That book for me was mind. See, what Pastor Sunday's book would do, it would just completely change your mindset,
Hmm.
to change your worldview, to change the way you look at life. It will change the way you live life. I read that book and I told myself that I will not allow 1 hour to go and I will not be able to give account for 1 hour.
Hmm.
Ever since then, I planned my life. I actually started planning my life in blocks of 3 hours.
Hmm.
When I was going to work, I was planning my life in block of 3 hours, and I was telling myself, after every 3 hours, I must be able to identify what I achieved in 3 hours. Now, I'm still working on myself, and hopefully I will get to a place whereby I'll be asking myself that question after every 1 hour. Understand?
Yep.
So that's one book that I read. Then another book that I read, although it's one of the recent Pastor Sunday's recent book, and the reason why I want to mention this book is because of its relevance to what we are discussing today and its importance. And that's the book, Who Will Attend Your Funeral. Please, I want to beg everybody, if there is any book you will read this year, go and read that book. Because I just finished reading the book and it was an eye opener. Who Will Attend Your Funeral? You know, one of the chapters in that book I love was the last chapter. The last chapter was actually not Pastor Sunday writing, but it was a testimony of people from past events that had attended HMT that was writing a story of what they think their funeral procession will look like now and what it will be in 10 years' time. That chapter actually caught my attention so much. And I saw myself asking myself, if I should die now and they were to write my funeral, what are they going to write? What are they going to say about me? Who actually will even remember that I lived? Who will remember I walked this earth? You understand? So it gave me so much food for thought that, in fact, you know when you say you are pouring kerosene to fire, I was burning very small. And you now pour petrol. That was what the book did for me.
Wow.
That's what the book did for me. So I want to encourage everybody, if you're here, please try and get that book. Who Will Attend Your Funeral? It's a book you must read. Then one of the very early books I read was The Kingdom Driven Life. That book actually for me clarified what the kingdom was all about. I had a very smoky idea. I had a very theoretical concept of what the kingdom was. But after reading that book, I actually knew, I understand, I can preach it now, I can teach people what it means to be a kingdom citizen and how you can begin to translate that kingdom lifestyle into your daily life. Understand? And I don't know if I should mention this, but I'll just maybe in passing, because
Go ahead.
Because in passing, just of recent, I always knew that I had a gift inside of me, and but I've always played the gift down, and I've never taken time to actually harness it and polish it. And I know, and that's the gift of teaching, especially when it comes to discussing things to do with the Bible, the mind, purpose, and all that. But just of recent, I was given a responsibility, and I landed in a place that I never thought that, in fact, a place that I've been running away from. And I discovered that I was now responsible for quite a number of people. I was now responsible for quite a number of people. And I discovered that the gift that has been in me all these years actually started coming out. You understand? And I can actually see the impact now, because I can see transformation in the lives of people that actually mentoring and I'm actually tutoring. So I said that just to encourage everyone, because every one of us, those listening to us today, there is a gift that is inside of you that maybe because of where you've been, because of the environment you've lived in all these years,
especially because of the church, that gift has been buried. You understand? But you need to know that there is a gift in you that you can begin to harness. You can begin to work on, you can begin to polish. Because I tell people this, I said, your life is not your own. Because a lot of destinies depend on you. Life is a chain, life is like a chain, it's a chain reaction. Once you are born into this world, there are some destinies that are actually waiting for you. Imagine if Pastor Sunday never harnessed his gifts. Imagine if you, Maya, was sitting down, you didn't harness your gift. Imagine if all the great names that we have read and we have heard, they didn't harness the gift. Imagine what the world will look like today. Just imagine that Jesus Christ came and refused to do what the Father asked him to come and do. What would have happened to the world? So you should know that your life is not just yours, because there's a lot of people out there who are actually waiting for what you have to offer. And if you don't offer that, you'll be robbing them of that thing that God has given to you to impact into their life. You understand? So I just want to encourage everybody listening to us today that do whatever you can. And going back to HMT before round up, I can't stress this enough. See, whatever they said, whatever you get free. I don't know how to put it now. What you don't ever take serious.
You don't value what you get free.
You don't value what you get free. You understand? Anything that comes free of charge, you never value it. And you know what? It's to your own detriment, not to the detriment of the person giving it free. Because the person giving it free already has it. That's why they can give it. But you receiving it free of charge and you are playing down on it, you are doing yourself a very big disfavor. But whatever you pay, it's not that you are paying for HMT, but you are actually spending something out of your pocket. You are buying flight tickets, you are paying for accommodation. You will value it. You will not want to waste it. And that's why I tell people that, look, whatever it takes for you to attend HMT, if you can, please do it. And you see, the atmosphere you get in HMT is second to none. I've been there a couple of times. I know what I'm talking about. Words cannot explain it. The atmosphere is different, right? And just being in that atmosphere alone, there is a transformation that happens in your, not just in your heart, in your mind, but in your spirit. There's a transformation that happens. So whatever you can do to attend the next HMT, I'm really looking forward to it because of the title. Because the kind of title I love. Understand? Planning is one of my, look, I tell myself I'm a plan freak. You understand? I try to plan everything. So once I heard Pastor Sunday mention that, I told myself, look, I must be in that HMT. And I pray that God gives me the grace to be there. So I just want to encourage everybody, please, HMT, do not miss it. Do not miss it.
Wow, Chris, it's been a pleasure being with you today. I appreciate your time, the story that you told us, the vital information you gave us. If you have been paying tithes in United Kingdom, check with other countries as well. But UK confirmed, you can ask HMRC, you can ask the government, the taxman, that you want a portion of that money back. Because the church or the place you're going, they should be reporting it to them, and they should be able to give you a portion of that back in tax. And Chris did it. It's confirmed he got his money back. You can do it as well. Don't just sit there and just take it like, oh, I gave it to God. You didn't give it to God. You gave it to your papa, your mama, your GOs, or the church, not God. So that's a vital information there. Chris, I'm really grateful for sharing that. You shared that with us. Guys, I'm really grateful. Dr. Sunday will be back in about 12 minutes now. So join again in 12 minutes and watch the program. What's the title of the next program? Anyway, watch the next program. It's always good. I think it's something to do with the Holy Spirit. How to know God through the Holy Spirit. Yes, how to know God through the Holy Spirit. I think we all need to, we need to know God through the Holy Spirit. I know you mentioned, everybody mentioned, oh, Holy Spirit, come and do this for me. But, you know, maybe you don't know exactly how to know him through that Holy Spirit. That's an opportunity for you to learn in 12 minutes. Again, I want to invite you to History Makers Training. If you cannot make this one, which is coming up from the 2nd onto the 7th of February, you can join us for the next one, which is in April, from the 8th to the 12th of April. But the one from the 2nd to the 2nd until the 7th of April, February 2nd to the 7th of February, in a few weeks time, please join us for that. We're looking forward to it. And the topic is how to structure and plan your life for the next 25 years. You've heard Chris is attended 2 HMTs in the past and is planning to come to this next one as well. You know, their testimonies online. Go to Dr. Sunday Adelaja on Facebook, or on YouTube, excuse me, Dr. Sunday Adelaja. You will see a series on HMT. You can watch it. You can hear testimonies of people that attended previous HMTs, what they experienced. And if you want to book it and you are interested, you can go online to Sunday Adelaja or Sunday Adelaja blog.com/HMT. I almost said the wrong thing. SundayAdelajablog.com/HMT. You will find the form there, so you can register and join us if you don't need visa. If you do need visa, then register for the one in April, and let's start the process for you for April HMT. Guys, I appreciate you. My name is Mayowa Olaya. Thank you very much, Chris. If there's anything else you want to say, Chris, before you go.
What will I say now? Just in rounding up, I just want to give like a couple of advice. Not to, because you know Pastor Sunday has a lot of content, but we all know the struggle we face trying to get people to listen to Pastor Sunday. So whoever is listening today, I just want to say, keep an open mind. If you're a believer and you don't keep an open mind to the information you receive, you'll always be deceived. Keep an open mind, but filter it through the Bible. Whatever you hear, be open to information, but when you hear it, filter it through the Bible. Then secondly, get his books, right? Don't worry what people are saying out there. You find out for yourself, right? Because nobody will eat for you. Nobody will take your bath for you. Nobody will sleep for you. Why would you allow people to think for you? Get his books and check out for yourself. Look at his YouTube series. But one thing I want to say is, after all these things, do not sit down, take action. No matter how small the steps are, right? Take action and be persistent. So that's just what I want to drop today.
Brilliant, Chris. Brilliant. Thank you very much. I appreciate you, Lord. All of you watching, I appreciate you. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel where you're watching from, or like the page. If you're watching on Facebook, like the page and set the notification. Set the notification to see first, so whenever Dr. Sunday comes on, you'll be able to get the notification that he is on, and you can watch it either then or later on. Secondly, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel and also turn on the bell notification. You would get a notification at least twice in a day. It's not too much. Twice in a day. And of course, if you want us to send you some short videos and teachings of Dr. Sunday on WhatsApp, we can do that. We have a telephone number that you can we can send this. You can save or request to be sent videos, and the number is +38098 596 3838. I will repeat the number. It's +38098 596 3838. I hope you would request to come on to be sent videos or messages. Thank you very much again. I appreciate you. I will see you next time. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.